crisis of faith, both internally and externally. Internally, there is a major problem, endemic, whereby Muslims, especially the youth, are now looking towards different ideologies and philosophies and ways of life to define who they are. It is not uncommon to meet a Muslim feminist, a Muslim men's rights activist, a Muslim socialist, a Muslim liberal. Yeah, you meet them. And what's happening is that there seems to be a crisis in reconciling the many issues, genuine issues, that we are facing. The attacks against the religion. And there seems to be no answers for many of these youths who are seeking answers, who are having issues pertaining to same-sex relations, or if sisters happen to be interested in non-Muslim men, or LGBTQ stuff, or whether, okay, theoretically I watched Hamza Zortz's video and yeah, okay, in theory Allah exists, but does he exist? Does he actually exist? If he exists, why would he send me to hellfire for eternity for disobeying? These kind of very fundamental questions are leading Muslim youth in their droves to apostasy. Is it their fault? Not always, not at all. Sometimes they're seeking answers and support and they're not getting it from our institutions and our masajid. And then we have the external problem, the external crisis of faith, whereby our deen, things which have been agreed upon for 14 centuries, through different periods of history, where there have been changes, where there have been cases of modernity and getting with the times, there's been consensus on fundamental concepts of Islam. These things are being questioned. These things are being associated with terrorism and extremism and radicalization. Concepts such as Ummah, the very fact that me as a Muslim born in this country have an equal, if not a bigger affinity with my brothers and sisters elsewhere. That's the problem now. Because you may be disloyal, you're unpatriotic. The concept of jihad fi sabilillah, yes, the J word, is no longer a noble concept. It's become bastardized. It's now become conflated and misconstrued with terrorism. And many other things. Whether it be aspects of the Sharia, the penal code, how Muslim women engage with one another in certain environments, how we choose to marry and wed one another, the rights of the woman, the inheritance laws, you name it, even halal meat these days has been accused of funding jihad and terrorism, according to Paul Golding, Brother First. This is what's changed, brothers and sisters in the Ummah. And this is the reality that we find ourselves in today. But I'm not going to conclude today's talk or answer to the question on all doom and gloom. Because doom and gloom, pessimism and negativity is not befitting of the Muslims. It's not befitting of the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to always think the worst. No, we think the best of Allah. And we think of the best result. So I want to conclude with 4 verses from the Quran, where Allah tells us that this izzah, this glory, this honor, this authority will come back to the Muslims based on a few things. He subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hajj verse 4, and those who, if we give them authority in the land, establish prayer, give zakah, and enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong. He subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Muhammad verse 7, O you who believe, if you help Allah, Allah will help you and establish your feet firmly. And He subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nur verse 55, Allah has promised to those amongst you who believe and do righteous actions that He will grant you khilafah in the land. And the last verse, one which is commonly cited in State of the Ummah lectures and events when talking about self-reformation and revival. And sometimes it's misunderstood to just exclusively mean individual reformation, but it doesn't. It means both individual and collective reformation. And that is in Surah Al-Rad, verse 11. Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we do not remain as mere bystanders in this critical period of the Ummah's history. Wallahi, I cannot stress more that this period that we are all living in will go down in history books of this Ummah in hundreds and thousands of years to come if we survive until then. It is a critical period of time. Let's not remain as mere bystanders. And let's pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if we don't live to see the return and the promises in these verses, that we can at least contribute to some meaningful and positive changes, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I think what I can see before me is the Muslim Ummah. I can see people from all different parts of the world, all different ethnicities, speak different languages. As myself, as you can recognize from my accent, not exactly Pakistani, but it's and I want to start with a little story, and that story has to do with my own journey to the UK. As most of you know that I'm from the Caribbean, and for those of you who were at a lecture a couple of weeks ago when we discussed that, we looked at the Muslims in the Caribbean. The journey goes along me. My great grandfather was from India, and my great-grandmother was from Syria. And both of them, one was an indentured laborer, and the other one was a slave. And they made their way somehow or other, they met in the Caribbean, in Trinidad. And that's where they got married, and from that, I'm here today. But our history has been a very painful one in the Caribbean. It has been painful because of what colonialism has brought in terms of slavery, triangular slave trade, where at least 1/3 of those who came from Africa were Muslims, and the vast majority of whom lost their faith. And then also you had the indentured laborers coming from the Indian subcontinent. But what is the amazing thing about it is that Islam would have not reached the shores of that part of the world had it not been for things which have happened in our history. And this is no way justifying what has happened, but it just helps us to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works in ways that sometimes we don't appreciate, and it takes time. And even when we see what is happening in other parts of the world, even what is happening now, let's say the mass migration of Muslims from Syria and other parts of Africa and the Middle East to Europe, maybe there is something there, maybe something is happening, that the world is changing in some way. And maybe there is cause for hope. See, when I came to this country, and this goes back just a little bit more than 20 years ago, I found it very difficult in trying to understand Muslims in this country. And one of the big difficulties I had in those days was that I could not understand why Muslims who were born and bred in this country did not see themselves as being citizens of this country. People who were responsible for what happened, that they were stakeholders in the society. That everything that they spoke about, that they talked about, what they considered to be their priorities, where they put their money in, it was all about what was happening in Kashmir, or what was happening in India, what was happening in Pakistan, what was happening somewhere in the Middle East. Crisis after crisis, raising more and more funds. And to a certain extent, a lot of that has still remained, where when we consider what our priorities are, it really has to do with something which is outside. And even when we look at a lot of the terminologies which has been used, in this session today, it all has to do with almost as if it sounds as if it's us, our Ummah, and them. We want to make ourselves great again, as opposed to them. And this is something which, for me, I can't reconcile, simply because I am somebody who is here. My great-grandfathers may have come from a different part of the world, but I see myself as a citizen of this land. I am as English as anybody else. English is my mother tongue, that's what I learned. And I see, and if you think about, and if you go back and for those of you who traveled to the Caribbean, you would realize that we have been here, at least the vast majority of those who come from the Indian subcontinent for about 170 years, and for those who came from Africa even much longer than that. But we feel that we are people of this land. We are people of the West. And many years ago, I had an opportunity to visit Pakistan, and I was there at International Islamic University for a few months. And of course, people could understand me, and anytime I said anything they couldn't understand Urdu, they would look at me in a very strange way and say, well, are you Muslim? Because, again, this is trying to reconcile the language with what Islam is all about. But one of the things I told myself when I left, I said, I thank Allah that I wasn't born in Pakistan. And it's not because that I didn't make friends with people. They are some of my best friends now. But it's because of a mindset which I saw, and the way of thinking, and how ingrained culture had been, and how what was really Islam was taken over by culture. And that people, what they did, and they were very far away from Islam, and they could not see, they could not understand what the condition they were in. And they were finding themselves going back and making the same mistakes over and over again. And what I'm saying, I think, is quite relevant to the topic today. Because for us to be able to change our condition, the condition of this Ummah, there's a lot of negativity when you think about the topic itself. We have to change our mindset, the way we see ourselves. You see, when I look at all of you here in this room, do you know what I see? I see the future of the Ummah. I see the future. I see change. I see people who can transform not just the Muslim Ummah, but can transform the world. Can transform the world. If you think, and if you were to analyze each one of us, and look into the careers that you are engaged in, or what you want to achieve by virtue of your studies, if you were to imbue your knowledge and your skills with a deep understanding of your faith, do you realize, can you imagine what difference you can make to the society and to the world? You can make a difference. You can make this land, you can make this place that you live in a place where people want to be in. You can be a positive contributor. You can become an agent of change. And that is the key point I want to talk about today. Becoming agents of change. As Brother Dilly's, no? Dilly spoke about. He spoke about change. And change is something important. See, change is happening, and the pace of change with time, especially in our time, is far more than we can ever imagine. And there can be some of us who can sit by and just look at the television and then want to know what is our agenda, what has happened in the world over the last, some of us, thinking that change happens so quickly that we are on our social media every 10 minutes to see what has happened, who has made the decision as the case may be. So change is happening. The question is, are you going to be a bystander of change? Are you going to be a pacifist and say, well, look, this has happened, and become somebody who gives a commentary on the change which has happened? Or are you going to become a maker of change? Are you going to take the initiative to be able to see what type of change, what change needs to happen? Are you going to become somebody who can identify what is the problems in our society and become somebody who can say, look, I'm going to take on that responsibility to be able to make change, make it change for the positive, change for the better. And Brother Billy, he mentioned that ayah of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about change in the context of the individual responsibility. And that's what I want to perhaps focus on. One of the really outstanding people who made a very positive contribution to the West, to Islam here in Europe and also in Europe, is somebody called Dr. Said Ramadan. And he lived in this part of the world in the 1960s and the 1970s. In fact, he came in the 50s, and he lived in different places. And he was responsible for building many main Islamic institutions here in Europe. But one of the things that people often go to him to ask him for advice. And as they sat before him and asked him whatever it is that they want to ask, he would say, hold on, before you tell me anything, I just want to ask you one question. He said, did you perform Fajr on time this morning? And only when they were able to give an answer which was, which he was positive and which he wanted, then he said, okay, fine, let's talk now. Let's see what do you have to say, what do you want to know, how can I help? And this is something important for us. Because very often we don't realize that whatever happens in the world today, that we are also part of that process. We also dictating what happens. And really, if you think about the Ummah, the individual unit of the Ummah is each one of us, each person here, makes the Ummah what it is. And therefore, to be able to change anything, it means that you need to start with yourself and to change yourself. You will not be able to change anything within your friends or your family or in your community or in the nation if you do not start with yourself and you empower yourself. If you can do that, if you can begin to Islamize yourself and Islamize your home, then that is where it starts from. One of the great intellectuals who lived for a very long time in the West, he was professor of Islamic studies at Temple University. One of the great names, that we have been able to be blessed with in America is somebody called Professor Ismail Farouqi, who died in the 1980s. And Professor Ismail Farouqi, he came to the UK. It was, I think, in the beginning of the 1980s. One of the lectures he gave was about this whole concept. He talked about dawah, which is trying to sort of share the message of Islam. And his whole talk about dawah was about family. How the family can become the model which society needs. How we can produce Muslim families that can become models so that others can look at us and say, yeah, that's it. I want to have a family like this. And this is important, but to have families, you need to have good people. And to have good people, you need to have people who understand their faith. People who are committed to the basic things. How can you be looking, or how can you be thinking about changing anything if you don't pray on time? If you don't understand your faith, you don't understand the Quran. One of the courses that we are running here, and I think many of you are involved in, is a course called Islam for Critical Thinkers. And that the whole idea behind this course was to be able to make you into students, into people who not just rely on things, who are able to go back and be able to engage with primary sources, who are able to read between the lines. When you see something, I mean, President Trump, made us so acutely aware of the notion of false news. But the thing about it, false news are things that we accept all the time, even sometimes within our own faith, without developing a critical mind. Unless you are able to have a critical mind, you will not be able to discern what is right and what is wrong. And therefore, you can become very easily somebody who becomes susceptible to others. Maybe you will not be able to learn how to be able to decipher, take information. To the point where we've noticed that in things like the Me Too movement, what this has done for many Muslims as well, is that Muslims are also people who are fallible. Our leaders are also people who are fallible. They can fall prey to all sorts of things. And if these things happen, what happens to the people who follow them? Do you say, well, look, my sheikh, this is what he's done, therefore, what is there? There is no hope again in Islam. Is that in the we talked about, a couple of weeks ago, I was giving a khutbah about a chap called Zayn Malik. I think many of you know him, who is suddenly declared now that he's no longer a Muslim. But what does this do? This rocks the faith of many people who sort of associate or identify themselves with these personalities. Even one of the leading sisters, who is one of the iconic British sisters, who is supposed to be the queen of hijabi, who decided, well, look, it's too much of a bother for me now, so I'll take it off after making all, getting her reputation and whatever else she gets from it. But what happens to everybody else? You just say, well, look, this is the way that we go. See, unless you're able to your faith is able to be something which is strong, something where you're able to really have it, is deep-seated, you are going to become somebody who is vulnerable. And I think that this is perhaps, apart from all that has been discussed, one of the biggest challenges that we face as an ummah is a crisis of our faith. And this has been partly mentioned before. And what I mean by that is that the crisis involves Muslims who are losing confidence in their faith, confidence in what it means to be Muslim. You see, it's easy. If you were living in a secluded village somewhere in the desert, and and all that you saw around you were Muslims dressed in a particular way, praying 5 times a day, and doing all that was right. It's easy to live in a society like that. But when you live in a society that we live in, a challenging society, where people don't just accept what it is, that you have to be able to reconcile your faith, be able to justify, in a sense, your faith, what you believe, why you believe what you believe. Then it becomes something that, hold on, to be able to maintain my faith, I really need to work hard at it. It's no longer something you can take for granted. And I believe that is the way that we should be heading. These are some of the challenges that we should be taking head on. And therefore, what I would like to see, and this is my dream. My dream is that I would like to see the Muslims here in this part of the world becoming the leaders of humanity and of the Muslims everywhere. And I think that we have the ability to do so. I think that we are able to think outside of the box. I think that we can be given the knowledge, the skill sets, and all that is required. I think that we have an environment whereby we can truly flourish if it is that we want to. But it is for us to be able to take up that challenge and those opportunities which are there before us. If we can do so, then we can become people who can make a difference to the world. And what I do, I see myself making a difference. And it doesn't matter where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places you. As I often say, the whole world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. And the whole world is Allah's world. Kashmir is not just Allah's world. You know, Britain is Allah's world. Germany is Allah's world. America is Allah's world. The Caribbean is Allah's world. You know, Latin America is Allah's world. And I work with Muslims from that part of the world, at least 35 different islands. And they all see themselves as being in places where it is Allah's land. And therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed you here for a purpose, for a mission. And I want to end with a few ayat of the Quran, as Brother Dini did. But the first ayat of the Quran I want you to remember is an ayat from the Quran from Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah says, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةٌ وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَتَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made each one of us a witness to humanity. That is what will be held accountable for most on the Day of Judgment. When you think of the life of the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the one thing that he was continuously engaged in, that consumed the vast majority of his time, was trying to share that message of Islam with others. That was what. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِّمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. That the best of you is the one who calls to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only way that you can call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you are a witness to that call, that you yourself bear witness to that call, that you are somebody by virtue of the way that you behave, by the values that you hold, by the principles that you stand for, you become somebody that others can look at you and say, yeah, I want to be like that child. I want to be like that girl or that boy, as the case may be. So that's the second ayah of the Quran. And these two ayahs of the Quran, if taken together, in a sense, gives us a sense of mission for our lives and a sense of purpose for our lives. No matter where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed you, you see yourself and see your role in terms of changing society. But remember that you need to be able to change yourself, inshallah.
So we are going to now have a Q&A. So everyone could write down any questions they have on a piece of paper in front of them and then hand them to one of our ushers who will be in the aisle. And if you want to direct the question at a specific speaker, then just write their name at the bottom of the paper, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Just quickly want to mention some upcoming events. Hussein mentioned that we need to hold our leaders accountable and we need to make sure we have the correct people leading the Ummah. But we've got hustings tomorrow for that because the future ISOC committee members, inshallah, are going to present their case tomorrow. So please join us at Uni Place, 5:30 p.m. More details are on our website. Secondly, we have the Winter General Meeting, which is on Thursday the 13th of December next week, Uni Place 2.22, 5:30 p.m. again. You can hold all the ISOC committee accountable for all the events that have been on place this year and any other things that you want to mention to them. And we'll be making constitutional amendments in order to make the organisation better so that we can incorporate and we can facilitate more ibadah and Islam on campus, inshallah. And finally, please fill out the Muslim student survey. This is absolutely vital. We need our voice as Muslims, as individuals, as Ummah to be mentioned, and so that we can have better cooperation with the union. They can understand our needs better so that we can negotiate more halal food places and other things that can accommodate for Muslims and Islam on campus. Jazakumullah khair. On to the Q&A. And finally, we have in the early hours retreats. This retreat tickets will be sold for the retreat after the lecture, and they are also being sold on our website. You can pay by card or by cash. The retreat is really an amazing opportunity for this individual internal self-development that Dr. Dawud was talking about. It will be a 3-day retreat and 2 nights retreat, and it will be an opportunity for us to really concentrate on ourselves and improve ourselves so that we may influence families and societies and inshallah shape the Ummah in the future.